Hi, I'm Paul, and I carry a Victorinox Swiss Army knife every single day. I actually carry two of them, and for good reason. Lots of good reasons. You'll be sold on Victorinox Swiss Army knives after I make this video. And I'm not even a salesman. I'm not even selling anything. I just want to talk about why the Victorinox Swiss Army knife is one of the best knives slash tools slash multi-tools for EDC, for anybody, and especially service technicians. Now, I am a security systems service technician. That's my 9-to-5 job, which means that every day I work on burglar alarms, fire alarms, door access systems, and security camera systems. So it's basically computer work. It's like IT work. It's like low voltage work. There's lots of different occupations that carry over the same types of daily use of tools and skills. And I really like the Victorinox Swiss Army knives. So I'm going to make 4 points about that. The first point is that Victorinox in general is good quality. It's lightweight. It's durable, it's affordable, and it's very useful on a daily basis. It can even be customized to meet anybody's needs. Now, believe it or not, I actually do not know the names of these two models right here, but I carry two Victorinox Swiss Army knives. Somebody let me know what models these are down below. I think this one might be called, first we'll talk about the small one. Now, this is the same size as the Victorinox Classic SD, and it's the smallest base, I believe, is 58 millimeters that Victorinox makes. Somebody let me know what this smaller knife is in the comments below. I don't exactly know, and it's weird to even call it a knife because it's not really a knife. It's got this little tool right here, and it's also got a pair of scissors. And in true Victorinox fashion, in addition to the scissors, it's got the toothpick, and it's got the tweezers right there. Now, I carry this tiny Victorinox multi-tool. What model is this? I think this is called the Flyer, but I could be wrong because it doesn't actually have a blade on it, so I guess you could fly with this. It's funny, when I was 15, I flew without my parents to London, Heathrow Airport, and I flew by myself. I sat in the smoking section. I carried a multi-tool on my belt and a knife in my pocket, and I was in the smoking section. But anyway, neither here nor there. This, I believe, is called the Flyer or the Flight, or maybe it's called the Rambler. I don't know. I think it has something to do with the fact that it doesn't have an actual knife blade on it, and it's got this little multi-tool instead of something else. But there's a reason why I like this one. This one rides in my fifth pocket. So the coin pocket, or whatever you would call it, in your pants, the little teeny tiny one, this rides in that. And I like it for several reasons on a daily basis. We'll just get right into it. It attracts a magnet, if I can attract a magnet to it. So it's an easy way to pull a magnet out of my fifth pocket because this magnet also sits in that pocket. And so I don't have to dig around for it. I just kind of grab the knife and this kind of comes out with it, or it's always with it, attached to it somehow. So if I need to pull my magnet out, which a security service technician needs to have in their pocket all the time for various testing purposes, well, it's easy to grab this magnet if I need it because I just grab the knife and the magnet's going to be somehow attached to it in one way or another. So that's just one secondary indirect use of the knife, right? It works to store my magnet well. But yeah, the quality is good. Let's speak about the quality for a second. These scissors, you would think that these scissors are tiny, and you would be right. These are tiny scissors. They are, and what can I even compare them to? Here is a Carmex, a standard chapstick tube, and here is the scissors. These scissors are tiny. They're tiny scissors. But talk about useful, right? These scissors are my go-to scissors. Believe it or not, these are the scissors that I use. And what I use these scissors for mostly is opening packs of batteries, which they're very good for, and also cutting double-sided tape. that is my second most common use. Well, that's actually my most common use. My second most common use would be opening batteries, especially CR123As. And other than that, just other things I would need a little snip for. They're so small, but don't let the size fool you. They're quality scissors, and they're very precise because they're so small. So if I need to cut out a little tiny curve or something in some double-sided sticky tape for whatever reason, or if I just need to do some very fine, delicate work, I can do that. And it'd probably even cut my nail if I tried. I've never done this before. I'm gonna try. Yeah, it did just cut my nail. That was pretty cool. I need to cut my nails, by the way. Mind them. But at any rate, so yeah, they're very useful tools. And they're affordable, right? Like this thing was under 20 bucks. I know that for a fact on Amazon. I don't remember. Well, maybe it was, I know it was 100% under $25. It was probably under 20. I probably should have looked and seen how much I bought this for. But yeah, you can get this on Amazon all day long, and it's pretty nice. This other one, I don't know what model this is. Somebody let me know in the comments below what Victorinox model this is. I also bought this off of Amazon, and I bought it and I carry it for one very specific reason, but a couple reasons actually. And it's also just, speaking of the things I said in that first point, the quality, a lot of people like to talk about the snap. Now, I actually don't use this knife blade. I try and keep this knife blade in pristine, out-of-the-box sharpness in case I need a really good quality knife for something. Here's the snap. People will test the quality to this snap sound. That's the classic Victorinox snap. But when I use a knife, I actually use the smaller pen knife, which is nice because basically what it means is I use this knife to cut things, as you can see by the cleanliness of it right now. And this knife is literally a brand new razor sharp out-of-the-box knife that isn't ever used, as far as my recollection is serving me, because I want a razor sharp brand new knife out of the box sharpness on a really good blade. So I actually use this blade for my knife tasks, which includes oftentimes opening products that have seals on them. So I use this mostly for opening boxes or cutting something very crudely that I need a small knife for, and this works great for that. They're affordable. Somebody let me know what model this is. You'll know by the time we get through this video as I show you some of the things that I use it for. And they're also highly customizable. So, you know, this is going deep into the woods, but there are people who actually change out what tools and implements they have to have their very own. But in my experience, Victorinox sells so many different models, so many different features that there's really a model for anybody. Now, secondly, the lack of locking tools on a traditional Swiss Army knife. Now, they do have models that have locking knives, I think, or some locking tools. Not all of them do, but in general, Swiss Army knives are not known for having a liner lock or a lockback or any other kind of lock design on them in a traditional sense. The lack of locking tools and the inherent limitations that the onboard tools have, those are actually good things. Those are actually not hindrances. This is why it's very nice to carry a Victorinox Swiss Army knife daily and use it every day. What do I mean by that? That they are good things and not hindrances. Well, let's put it this way. If you need a knife that has a locking blade, you probably need something more substantial than a folding knife. That is debatable, possibly. But here's the next point that is not debatable. If you do not have a locking blade or locking tools on your knife, then you're going to be a lot more careful with it and a lot more careful how you're using it. So there's just a psychological type of prevention, right? Like prevention and safety that goes along with not having locking blades and locking tools. I have to be much more safer with this knife because it doesn't have a locking mechanism on it. It's just a slip joint. And when you're working out somewhere, right? As a service tech, I am not working in-house. I am driving around in a service vehicle and I'm going inside of homes and businesses. And it's very annoying to cut yourself. I actually need to see if I have any Band-Aids in my wallet because I roll with Band-Aids. See, I do not have a single Band-Aid in my wallet right now. That's another part of my EDC I got to replenish. I usually carry a couple Band-Aids in my wallet because it is very annoying to cut yourself out in the field, especially if you're inside somebody's house or something. So this lack of having a locking mechanism forces you to be more careful. Wow, that was a long way to make that point. But that's a good thing. That's not a hindrance. If you need a locking knife, you probably need a different tool. And the limitations, if you're pushing your tools too hard, then you probably need a different tool. Now, these are all good things because it forces you to use the tool in the most efficient, safe, and effective way as possible. And it should be, in some cases, a primary tool, and in other cases, a secondary tool, and not your primary tool. That's a limitation, right? For example, this Phillips head. Now, I believe this is a number 1 Phillips head, not a number 2. The most common screw head in the United States. See, here's the number 2 right here. So with my favorite screwdriver, go watch my video on that. Yeah, this is a number 1 Phillips. And as you can see, it's a little, let me get it on camera here. So the actual 6-in-1 is a number 2 Phillips right now, that bit. So this would be a number 1. As a matter of fact, let's switch this out and put the number 1 on it and we'll compare it. Yeah, that's definitely a number 1 Phillips bit. But hey, you have a decent Phillips bit. The risk with using a number 1 on a number 2 Phillips head is that you could strip out the screw head, and that's a bummer. But this works well as a screwdriver in a pinch, and it's a decent screwdriver, a decent Phillips screwdriver. Now, I carry a tool pouch. I carry a tough-built tool pouch with my 4 primary tools, and every once in a blue moon, for whatever reason, I don't have it on me and I need a screwdriver, or because I forgot it, or who knows what the reason. That's very rare, but in a pinch, I use this as an actual screwdriver. Now, I'm not a fan of this T design, right? So I wish the screwdriver folded out like one of these tools so you had a longer screwdriver as opposed to the T. But it generally works. And if that is the case where it doesn't work because maybe I don't have the clearance on the side for what I'm ever trying to unscrew, then I will go and I will use one of the opener screwdrivers and use that lengthwise. So use that lengthwise, and then I'm not prohibited by the width of something if I'm trying to screw. So there's that snap. That's not the best, but this is also a little bit dirty and needs to be cleaned, I'm sure. It's been in my pocket for quite a while, and I don't ever clean it, right? That's a testament to the durability and the reliability of that, right? It's kind of like Glock infamy in a folding pocket knife. So where are we? We're rambling. I can't believe I'm talking about this knife for 13 minutes, these knives. But here's another thing, right? Talking about usefulness. This particular one is also very nice for this screwdriver here. This is a precision type screwdriver. I don't know what size this is. It would be either a 0 or a 00 Phillips, but it's literally a precision screwdriver. I use a precision screwdriver every day at work. I like the Klein 4-in-1. This is a very good precision screwdriver, but in a pinch, like again, for whatever reason, I need a precision screwdriver, I can use this on my Swiss Army knife as a precision Phillips in conjunction with this as a precision flat blade screwdriver. It's very important, and I can have pretty much my screwing bases covered because here is your standard size flat blade, flathead screwdriver on one of the openers. So yeah, you can cover a lot of bases with Victorinox Swiss Army knives, especially as a professional service technician. Now, where are we here? I've locked myself out of my MacBook Air. Go watch my video on that. because I have some notes in front of me, and I'm about ready to move on to the third point as soon as I can put my password in and look at my notes. Okay. And as a side note, if you want me to talk about my EDC carry, which is in front of me, which is the thumbnail, or if you want me to, do a video on other aspects of my EDC, which is maybe why do I carry 2 single AAA flashlights and stuff like that, let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know what models these are. I would really like to know. But let's move on to point number 3 right now. Point number 3, because this is kind of like a rant and I've just got one sentence for each of my points. Point number 3, the non-threatening vibe of Victorinox cannot be understated, right? Nobody feels intimidated when you pull it out and you use it. And I pull this out in front of customers at their home because maybe I need the scissors to open up a pack of batteries, right? That's a thing. That's definitely a thing, right? Maybe the customer will hand you the pack of batteries. So nobody feels intimidated, nobody feels threatened, nobody feels anything when it comes to Swiss Army knife other than perhaps, wow, this guy can do whatever it is that he needs to do because he just pulled a Swiss Army knife out of his pocket. I don't know. I don't know what it is, right? I go into places where they have no knife policies. Every once in a while, I got to go through scanners and go through security and go through this and that. And never once in my job, obviously I need my tools, but never once has this ever batted an eye anywhere. These are the most non-threatening appearing knives in the world. I don't know if that has to do with Switzerland and the whole neutral, not taking sides, being the good guys. I don't know where that comes from, but Swiss Army knives have a reputation for being non-threatening knives. And that's a good thing, right? You don't want to pull out while you're working at some place where people might feel uncomfortable that there's a knife. Oh my goodness, Lord forbid that this person has to use a tool, but nobody feels threatened when you pull a Swiss Army knife out of your pocket. If you pulled out, a manually assisted opening, locking knife that's super sharp and looks very tactical in nature, people might feel a little bit intimidated by that or might not like that or whatever it is, whatever stereotype they're going to put you on, that's just people, right? That's just people being people. But you pull one of these out and nobody ever, ever, ever bats an eye. So, finally, the fourth point, and I've hit on all of these points, really. I just want to make them into concise statements, but I've kind of been jumping back and forth between all of them because really it's just 4 points and nothing else scripted beyond that. But the final point is that sometimes a Victorinox knife is, in fact, the best tool for the job. So the scissors are tiny, but they're clutched. I use these scissors all the time for various things. Couldn't be without them. This little toothpick, which is on both of them, this little toothpick is great for sometimes you'll be on the back of a little small camera or something that will have a little recessed reset button or something on it where you need just a little teeny tiny poke. Sometimes you need a little teeny tiny poke of something, but you don't want it to be metal for various reasons, right? And it also works as a toothpick. Imagine that, folks. But sometimes it is the best tool for the job. These scissors are literally my favorite scissors, and these are the scissors that I use when I work in a professional capacity. Believe it or not, those are the scissors that I want. Here is the best tool for the job for me in my work where I need a drywall cutter. Imagine that. Now I think that somebody will be able to tell me what model Swiss Army knife this is by the implements and tools that it has. This one has the saw. This saw, well, let's see here. This saw is basically the primary reason why I carry this particular model in my pocket all the time. I literally have a decent sized, good quality folding saw in my pocket. That is why this model of Victorinox Swiss Army knife is so vital to me. What do I use this saw for? What can this saw be used for? There are two specific cases where I want to tell you where this saw comes in clutch, and I wouldn't want any other tool. One case is, for example, if I need to cut a little bit of drywall. If I need to cut into drywall, this saw is absolutely perfect because it's small, so you have incredible precision. It's got good teeth on it, so you can really get a good turn and get a little round hole on that drywall. It's not very long, so you're not going to be severing things and cutting things and doing things that you shouldn't, because it's just long enough to get some movement in drywall to cut out whatever it is you need to cut in drywall. It also works great for drop ceiling tile. This saw is great for things like that. If you're cutting maybe a little box out to put a relay above a smoke detector, or maybe you're cutting a hole in a drywall because you replaced their alarm system and the new keypad doesn't line up where the old one was mounted and you need the wires rerouted to a different location. For various reasons, this saw is awesome. Furthermore, perhaps somebody just got new windows installed in their house, and the nice window installers pre-drilled the frames and the holes for the security devices. Well, maybe they didn't drill them the right size, or maybe for whatever reason you need to open that hole up a little bit more. This saw is great for something like that because it's very thin, so it can get into a lot of places. It's very sharp, so it can get the cutting done, and it's very maneuverable. Right? It's very maneuverable. This saw is clutch. Any service technician that needs a saw for cutting drywall or something like that occasionally and wants good control and no nonsense ease of use, that saw is clutch. So those are just some of the reasons. I carry 2 Swiss Army knives all the time. This, my van keys, and one of my AAA flashlights. These are the only things that sit in my front left pocket all the time. I always have these 3 items in my front left pocket. One of them is, in fact, this Victorinox. Someone let me know in the comments below what model this Victorinox is. I don't know. And this is always with me at work. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull out of my pocket right now. When I'm in my house, I carry a Victorinox as well, right? In my lounge pants, I carry a little Alox Bantam, and I carry this knife because it's got a little teeny tiny tool for various implements. Oh, and while I'm on that, that reminds me of one of the things I use this for. This is a great little scraper right here. This works well to scrape tape or residue or silicone or gunk or whatever it is you need to scrape. This is a good little scraper, right? There are so many secondary uses on Victorinox knives that you're thinking, wow, that's a great solution for this task that I need to do. But yeah, at home in my lounge pants, I carry a little Victorinox Alox Bantam, and it's super light, it's super nice, and it's super. It's a super knife. But we're talking about EDC for out and about, and especially when you're at work. Those would be these 2 Victorinox Swiss Army knives. This one in the front left pocket, this one in the 5th coin pocket. In addition, I carry the magnet in there, and I also carry a hard candy in case I start coughing or something, or something's drying out my throat. You know, when you're working on alarm systems and fire alarms and all of that stuff, sometimes you're up in attics, sometimes you're in crawl spaces, sometimes people have dusty houses, just whatever it is, you might need to pop a piece of hard candy in your mouth. But anyway, that's what I do with my knives and my multi-tools. I carry a Victorinox, and let me log in again here because I keep logging myself out. I carry 2 Victorinox Swiss Army knives or multi-tools or whatever you want to carry. We'll call these. So what do you carry? What multi-tool do you carry? What knife do you carry? Is weight a consideration for you, which it is for me? Is price and affordability, functionality, versatility, durability? What matters to you, and what is it that you use it for? So that's all I got for you today. Thank you for your time.